Listening is an act of love. Thank you. You can help lift up the voices, stories, and challenges we share by making a contribution at thiswayout.org.
A sincere thank you to all of you who already support This Way Out. Your support matters.
I'm John Dyer V.
And I'm Wendy Natividad.
With NewsWrap, a summary of some of the news in or affecting LGBTQ communities around the world for the week ending October 2nd, 2021. German voters elected their first 2 transgender members of parliament this week, in addition to dethroning longtime Chancellor Angela Merkel. With about 25.7% of the vote, the center-left Social Democrats and their candidate Olaf Scholz defeated Merkel's center-right Christian Democratic Union by just over 1 point. That ends Chancellor Merkel's 16-year tenure. With almost 15% of the vote, the Green Party enjoyed its best-ever third-place finish, including the election of trans candidates Tessa Ganserer and Nyke Slawik. 44-year-old Ganserer first served as a member of Bavaria's regional parliament. 27-year-old political newcomer Slavik's campaign focused on combating climate change and the creation of a national action plan to fight anti-LGBTQ discrimination and violence. Anti-queer hate crimes in Germany rose by 36% last year, according to police figures. Merkel stays in power until the Social Democrats elect the next chancellor. Vice Chancellor Olaf Scholz will likely lead a coalition government, since his party only won about 1 in 4 seats in the Bundestag, or parliament. Before the federal elections, Merkel's government finally made good on its promise to compensate people who were investigated or prosecuted for homosexuality during the Nazi reign of terror. The Federal Office of Justice announced at the end of August that 317 people had applied for compensation. 249 of them have received a total of almost 860,000 euros, slightly more than $1 million. The application deadline is July 21st, 2022.
This week, the Taipei High Administrative Court struck down the requirement that trans people provide proof of reassignment surgery and the full removal of reproductive organs before they can legally change their gender. Transgender plaintiff Xiao Yi filed suit on April 1st, the International Trans Day of Visibility. She had not been allowed to change the gender designation on her national ID card because she had no proof of surgery. She was represented by the Taiwan Alliance to Promote Civil Partnership Rights, the advocacy group that successfully won marriage equality. The September 23rd High Court ruling declared that the proof of surgery requirement was unconstitutional. That ruling can still be appealed by the Interior Ministry, according to the Taipei Times. The decision only applies to Xiao Yi. The UK's Gay Times explains that others seeking a legal gender change without proof of surgery will have to wait for the government to revise current regulations or file their own lawsuits.
Pressure from the European Union has succeeded in getting 4 Polish provinces to repeal their LGBT-Free Zone declarations. Lawmakers in Świętokrzyskie responded to the threatened denial of EU funding on September 22nd. 4 days later, Podkarpackie, Lubelskie, and Malopolskie followed suit, and the Sydney Star Observer reports that discussions are also underway in the province of Łódzkie. The European Commission wrote to all 5 provincial governments in early September, advising them that their anti-queer declarations violated EU law. They were threatened with the loss of much-needed cash if they failed to remove them. Poland's COVID-19 recovery allocation was at stake, more than 1.5 billion euros. Close to 100 local governments in Poland have passed LGBT-free zone laws since 2019. The legislation has had the backing of the government's ruling far-right Law and Justice Party and the politically powerful Roman Catholic Church. The Polish government once promised to reimburse local governments who lost EU funding because of their anti-queer declarations. More recent reports suggest that it is quietly urging the provinces to overturn those policies in order to get the funding.
In neighboring Hungary, Prime Minister Viktor Orbán bristles at the EU's threats. The European Commission has yet to approve pandemic recovery funding to his government of up to 819 billion euros, or about $950 billion. Orbán told local state media that the EU is withholding the funding because of the debate around LGBTQ policy. The country recently banned any positive depictions of same-gender love or gender transition that could be available to minors, buried in a bill to clamp down on pedophilia. The government says the restrictions apply to schools, the media, and even books. Hungary's Justice Minister Judit Varga argued in a mid-September Facebook post that the country has the right to protect what he called its culture, national identity, and family values rooted in them. He said, "They try to punish us only because we don't let the LGBTQ lobby into Hungarian schools and kindergartens." Meanwhile, Hungary's media regulator has published guidelines to broadcasters that equate films portraying homosexuality or gender identity issues with gory horror movies, again, under the guise of protecting children. The revised guidelines from the National Media and Infocommunications Authority are an apparent follow-up to the earlier law banning queer-positive portrayals. The regulator now classifies Oscar-winning queer Spanish director Pedro Almodovar's All About My Mother and the L-Word TV series with the same age restrictions as the Saw horror movie franchise or The Exorcist.
Kenya's Film Classification Board has banned a documentary film about a gay man's struggle for acceptance and his relationship with another man. The board calls I Am Samuel unacceptable as well as demeaning to Christianity. They say it's an affront to the constitutional recognition of the family as the basic unit of society, and the definition of civil marriage as between two persons of the opposite sex. The film follows the real-life Samuel over 5 years and took 2 years to edit. Private, consensual, adult, same-gender sex is still a crime in Kenya. Anyone venturing out of the closet risks anti-queer discrimination and violence. As is the case on much of the continent, sexual and gender minorities are generally taboo subjects in the deeply religious country. Filmmaker Pete Murimi tweeted about the commonality that comes through in I Am Samuel. He said, "We all fall in love. We all contend with family expectations. The biggest difference is Samuel, our main character, had to also reckon with homophobia and violence. The government warns anyone who attempts to exhibit, distribute, broadcast, or possess I Am Samuel in Kenya that they will be met with the full force of the law." The Film Classification Board banned the Kenyan lesbian love story Rafiki in 2018, even though it premiered to rave reviews at the Cannes Film Festival. The Rafiki ban was eventually overturned in court, and the film went on to enjoy major box office success.
Finally, Thailand's Constitutional Court continues to avoid issuing its ruling on a marriage equality case without explanation. A ruling was first scheduled for April. Then it was postponed to June. On September 28th, the High Court kicked the proverbial can down the road again. The case began in December 2020. Perm Sub Sayong and Pwangpe Heng Kam had been a couple for more than 12 years when their marriage registration was rejected at Bangkok's Pasi Charon district office because they are both women. Their lawyers argued that the Civil Code definition of marriage as only between one man and one woman violates constitutional guarantees of equality. A bill to legally recognize queer couples was first introduced years ago in Thailand's parliament, but it's gone nowhere. The Constitutional Court gets another chance to evade the issue on December 14th.
That's NewsWrap, global queer news with attitude, for the week ending October 2nd, 2021. Follow the news in your area and around the world. An informed community is a strong community.
NewsWrap is written by Greg Gordon, edited by Lucia Chappelle, produced by Brian DeShazor, and brought to you by you.
Help keep us in ears around the world at thiswayout.org, where you can also read the text of this newscast, and much more.
And you can read the transcript and listen to NewsWrap each week by subscribing to our This Way Out radio channel on YouTube. For This Way Out, I'm Wendy Natividad. Stay healthy.
And I'm John Dyer V. Stay safe.
This Way Out delivers LGBTQ news and culture to more than 150 local communities on radio stations around the world. And we are also a free online news service.
You can choose your favorite way to listen, online or on the air, at thiswayout.org.
Please sign up for our free e-newsletter, Inside This Way Out.
We'll respect your trust in us and make sure your personal information is never shared with others.
Just send us an email at info@thiswayout.org to receive the informative and unique addition to the show.
You'll be invited to join us for a more in-depth look into our stories. and be encouraged to learn more about This Way Out's 3 decades of broadcast activism.
We hope you choose to join us in celebration of LGBTQ history and culture.
Email us at info@thiswayout.org to join the movement.
We'll make sure you always know what's going on inside This Way Out.